What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today's Monday, October 10th. The regular season has come to an end. The LA Galaxy played their game yesterday. Everybody played the game yesterday. It was decision day. The Galaxy, we now know, will host a playoff game first time since 2016. They get on. They land the fourth seed. They're going to play Nashville at home. Here to help me talk all that, we got Damian Calhoun. Damian, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, how was your weekend? I have to assume it was a pretty good weekend after the Galaxy result.
Um, yeah, busy weekend. Well, not really busy, but just always you always look forward to decision day because you never know what's going to happen. Goals start flying in across the league, and you don't know where the team you're covering is going to fall. So it was pretty exciting early on, but then by the second half, it was pretty much set they were going to be fourth. So it sort of took away some of the excitement from the day a little bit.
Did you want it to come down to the wire?
Oh man,
I
you love those. You love those games where it's like they needed to win and Dallas needed to lose to get third. So wouldn't it be crazy if Kansas City scored 2 goals in the 90th minute and
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah,
Dallas was like, "Hey, we're fourth." Oh no, wait, we're third. So that would have been crazy. But
yeah. No,
yeah,
that definitely.
yeah. I remember one year when I covered LAFC, the COVID season, when their game ended, they were in third. But by the time the other games ended with their extra time, they had fell to sixth. So it's like you just never know what's going to happen by the time all the injury times ended. So decision days it's always fun, and exciting.
Yeah, and just the opposite too. If the Dynamo were to tie the Galaxy or something like that in the game yesterday, I think they probably would have fell down to like six or something or something around there. They would not have had a home game. They had to win. If they wanted a home game, they had to win regardless. The tie would have done them no justice.
Yeah, there were some scenarios where they could have fell all the way to seventh, which would have been crazy. But they wanted a home game, they got it. Now let's see what happens here in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. I got look. This team, to me, I think the Galaxy are riding a momentum, a really good momentum, going into the playoffs, and I think that's what you want. Going into these playoffs. Now that it honestly doesn't really matter how the season started. It matters, but it doesn't matter right now at this point because it's all about momentum, and they have all this momentum going into the playoffs. They've been through the trenches, and now we're starting to see what Ricky Push, Brugman is doing in that midfield, and that essentially has really helped them out. And they to me, this is a very, very confident team, and this to me, this is a title contender team. I know there's obviously LAFC. I know there's other teams around the league, but the way this team has been playing, and if they play like this throughout the playoffs, you assume that they get a positive result, this Saturday, then the possibilities continue, the hopes continue for this Galaxy team because you got Ricky Puig, you got Chicharito, you have even the defense is looking better, so there's a lot of things that are working. In the Galaxy way right now that we weren't talking in the beginning of the season or in the middle of the season, even when I remember when I don't know who it was. One of the players ended up calling out Greg Vanny. Everybody, it felt like the Galaxy were in shambles, and that goes to show how long the season really is. Because I felt like at that point, it really felt like the Galaxy may not make it to the playoffs. It kind of had this type of feeling that they could kind of the season could almost be done. But obviously, I know you've covered this league a long time. Me, 5 years in, I know like anything can happen because of how long the season is. Obviously, like we said, the addition of Ricky Puig, players getting better defensively. Now they're one of the four top best teams, going into these playoffs.
Yeah, I mean the season is almost looked like it's been three parts. You have the good start in the middle. I mean in the beginning. Up until that international break, they came out of there a little sluggish, hit their little road bumps. And the last 11 games, they're 5-1-5 in the last 11. So yeah, I mean, if you see them on the schedule, I wouldn't want to play them in a one-off, man. That's going to be tough. I mean, maybe the game gets to PKs, we know how they struggle to PKs, but in a in a in, in a 90-minute game, I wouldn't want to see this team walking in.
Yeah, no, and I think to me that's what makes it more interesting. I think the playoff structure, I think outside of the penalties, I think it's in the Galaxy's favor because of the momentum. It's just a one-off game, right? And the first one is at home. That helps them. And then, look, I don't want to get too far ahead. It's one game at a time. But if they do win that game, the next game is against LAFC, right? It's
Yeah.
one game at a time, but that is just a juicy game for me. That to me would be an exciting matchup with everything that's going on with both clubs. Obviously, they're both big signings. So yeah, look, I'm definitely focused on this Saturday. But let's talk about a little bit about this game. Obviously, in the 8 minutes in, Houston Dynamo ended up scoring the first goal. Things were looking good for the LA Galaxy at the beginning of this game. What would you make of them? Obviously, they were able to bounce back quickly right after that. But what were your thoughts about this game as they were to close this out?
Yeah, and, talking to Greg before the game, a couple of days before, he was concerned about Houston's transition work. They sort of hurt them when they played them out here. I think back in July, I think scored a 3-0 win, and then their goal. I mean, they attacked down the right hand side. I think they whipped the ball over, got an early goal, and you're thinking, what's going to happen here? 1-0 after the 8th minute. But the Galaxy sort of took control of the game after that, and then you can see Houston sort of they started playing like a team that was done for the season. Really, I mean, they couldn't get much possession after the Galaxy took the lead, and the Galaxy probably could have had 5 or 6 goals on there. I mean, I think Bregman hit the post, and I think Puig might have hit the crossbar, or either one of either vice versa, whatever. But they took control of the game after going behind, and they came out with the win.
Yeah, and we're seeing right here, we're seeing Ricky Puig's goal. Obviously, they got him back into the game. I like that the crossing there, like the assist there. He's just right there at the right time. Because usually we expect either Chicharito to be there, but now that's what I'm saying. Uh, Ricky Puig has really opened up this offense a lot more. To be for players to be able to make these cuts. Puig, this is his third goal. I mean, to me, it feels like, man, it's crazy. It's only it's he scored what I don't know how many games he's played,
I
but
think
man,
it's only 10 games, I think, right?
10 games, yeah, 10
Yeah,
games,
nine or
three
10 games.
goals, couple, throwing the amazing assists that he's had in there, and it's, we could be talking about him. If he played potentially, if he played a whole season, he probably could have been an MVP candidate. Obviously, he
Yeah.
didn't get enough games and everything like that, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Ricky Puig, Brugman, and what they do in that midfield. And I know also he dedicated that goal to, I believe his sister, right? His
Mhm.
sister. He dedicated that goal to his sister, which is really cool. Initially, I thought he was having a kid,
Yeah.
because we know he has a girlfriend and everything. So he was like, oh, the first thing I saw was like, oh man, he's having a kid. That's awesome, And then he came out of his sister, which is still pretty cool, either way. But let's talk about a little bit about that. Ricky Puig making that run and being there, and just also showing his versatility as a scorer, because I think it might have been him or Brugman. I don't recall who hit the crossbar, but it's kind of even hard to tell sometimes unless it's zoomed in, because the way they take those shots with so much confidence, whether it's Brugman or Ricky Puig, like it doesn't matter how far out there they are from the 18, they're gonna take those shots, and those shots are gonna be on goal. They're not they're not far off.
Yeah, especially in I think the second half. There was a moment where Gaston had some pretty clear space, and he lined up and took a hit from like 18 out, and I think it just might have just went wide a little bit. But yeah, he has a lot of confidence going forward, and he can get the ball on target, which is something really don't see. Well, sometimes with some of the shots from outside the box, the Galaxy has been sort of off target, high and wide, but he does a good job of getting them on target. And yeah, Ricky. I mean, thinking back, he probably could have had 3. During his time, he's probably had a couple goals. I think one hit the bar, and he probably looking maybe like a 6 goals in 10 game stretch if everything went well for him. Yeah, he just had he came in a big impact, and it's a shame he's only played 10 games, because if he plays 20 games, 25 games, you're looking at first 11 candidate, MVP candidate, newcomer of the year candidate. Although breaking news, I voted for him as my newcomer of the year. Don't tell anybody. But I mean, it's only 10 games, but man, he had such an impact. Just settling down the midfield, something that the team has missed before he got there. It's either him, the first ball going forward, him, marking back, picking up a loose ball, going forward. He's had a big impact in only a 10-game season, really. looking forward to
Yeah.
him next year with a full schedule.
Yeah, no, it should be exciting. I'm with you. I mean, voting him for a newcomer of the year. I don't think you're far off with that because I think we all can agree the Galaxy would not be where they are right now because of because of him. I don't know what the criteria is if a player has to play a certain amount of games or whatever, but to me,
Now
he definitely
there's no
there isn't.
criteria. He was
Okay.
on the list, so I clicked his name.
Okay, well, yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely got my vote as well because I mean, what he's done there has been amazing and how he's played so well. Another thing too, also Chicharito gets his 18th goal of the season. That's one more than he had last year. We
yep,
also know well, that he broke his own news about being reaching 12 goals and I think what was it 60% of the starts. So he scored more goals. He scored one more goal than last year. Let's talk about Chicharito because obviously a lot of good things, a lot of good momentum. Obviously he's a team's leading scorer, but I really want to talk about this play where he scored his goal and how he got the assist and how he put himself in there. I think it's Douglas Costa and then ends up passing the ball here once the replay starts. He does the LeBron James celebration right there. But I think it's Douglas Costa. He gets it, passes it to Chicharito, and then gets it. Let me see if we can play this back. Here we go. Oh, well, it wasn't there, but he plays it back. I believe to Brugman. Brugman touches it to him,
yeah,
plays it in
Gaston, yeah.
space. What were your thoughts on that? Because I mean that's just a clinical touch, first touch to assist, and then obviously he puts in the back of the net.
Yeah, another thing. I mean, they struggled early part in the year getting him, feeding him, getting him service, and now as you see with Ricky and Gaston, and they're getting him service in different ways. They're not really, not really worrying about crossing the ball to him a lot. They're getting them in those runner plays through the middle, whatever, and 18 goals. That's I mean that's one more than last year. You think about how many he could have had. Not going back to the PK misses and the other chances he had. You're possibly looking at a 25 maybe goal season for him. So that's back to back years, 35 goals. That's a good way to end in the 3 years of your guarantee contract going into your option year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and then let's talk about that because I know some. I think the prerequisites or the clause I thought was interesting. Right, he only had to score 12 goals. But I think that's more on the front office people making those decisions or negotiations. But how do you feel? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but to me, he's looked better every year with the Galaxy, right? Obviously, we already know what happened in the first year. I don't think we need to talk about that. We've seen what we did last year. Obviously, this year he scores one more goal. He's fully committed to this LA Galaxy. Like I said, we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. He's coming back for one more year with the Galaxy next season. How have you felt about Chicharito in his tenure with the Galaxy so far?
Yeah, he's put in a lot of work. I mean, we remember, like I said, we remember the first year. I guess there were a lot of physical and personal things that he had to deal with. And coming off last year, 17 goals. That was a big turnaround. And then this year, putting up 18. Yeah, he's done everything they wanted him to do. And I think a lot of people were worried about, hey, he only needs to score 12 goals, but he also had to hit that minutes mark as well, which that probably wasn't really guaranteed. I don't think. I mean, there could have been times when Greg probably wanted to pull him off, or he could have got injured. I mean, you never know. But to hit the goal mark, hit the minutes mark, I think he played in every game this year, so that's showing his durability. I hope you get one more. You get a playoff run out of him, and you get one more year out of him, and then we see what happens after that. Because if he comes out and goes 20 goals again next year, I mean, I don't know what you do. You just keep going 1 year, 1 year, 1 year till it's finally like, okay, we can move on. But he looks good. I mean, he's always talking about how he feels, how he looks, and all the work. Everybody sees the work he does on his social media with his workouts. So yeah, we'll see. Let's ride it out the playoffs, see what happens, and then if he goes crazy again next year, 20 some goals, man, that'd be tough to say goodbye, I guess.
Yeah, to me, I mean, um, I don't know. I like that he's coming back. I like that he's doing what he's doing. Like he's showing his commitment. He's scoring goals, right? Anytime you score close to 20 goals, that's a pretty successful individual season. But also, he's helped this team get there in in fourth place, right? And him coming back next year, I know some people are concerned about his age and all that. But I would agree, yeah, that age is a little concerning. But well, we had also Zlatan here when he was like 37 or whatever, and I think it's also about like what you mentioned. If a player's taking care of his body and doing all the physical things that he needs to do and all those different things, then I think that to me, at least to me, that's much of a safety net, that how much he takes care of his body, how serious he really takes it. And I understand, like, look, he's not going to be the player he was like 10 years ago, but like if he's still, I don't think people understand scoring goals is just not easy. Even if you're a striker, like scoring goals just don't come easy. And he's making those amazing runs. He's catching up to those passes. So he's really in sync with everything he's doing. And I think him coming back, he's definitely deserved it. He's definitely earned it. He's definitely earned one more year. And I'm with you. If he continues to have another 20 goal season, it would be hard not to bring him back, right? Unless like an injury or something like that happens. But I think right now, what he's done and what he showed these last 2 seasons, to me, him earning that one more year is, I think it has to be a good sign. And look, you have playoffs. He can go on a tear these playoffs, as well, especially with how, like you were talking about, that was a run of play. We had not seen those run of play goals. We've always seen them from the crossing, and that's because we mentioned the players that are there in the midfield and how the game's opening up for them. And he still has those skill sets. He still has those attributes that a striker number 9 has. And I know the rumors that Luis Suarez may be coming to the Galaxy and all those different things. But to me, I think Chicharito is still the guy. To me, he's still the guy until he isn't the guy, until he starts to prove that he can't score. He's not physically able. But if he's able to keep his body in shape and everything like that, I think he deserves to be back with the team. And then we'll see how long he will continue with the team after that. But look, you have to be excited for him, the Galaxy, in these playoffs. One more player. I think for me, like some of the most important players for the Galaxies all scored in yesterday's game. Joveljic also, he had some magical moments this year. Let's talk about him. He gets a goal in. He subs in for Chicharito. Just minutes after being subbed in, he ends up scoring the third goal. Puts it in the coffin. What are your thoughts on about Joveljic, and obviously what we could potentially see from him in the playoffs?
Yes, the only problem downside of bringing Javier back is it's another year where Joveljic is probably sitting on the bench. He's handled that pretty well. I mean, he's had his moments where he's told us, hey, he wants more minutes. He told us yesterday he thought he would play more minutes this season, but to have somebody like that off the bench who scored 11 goals in under 1,000 minutes, I believe that's pretty impressive. It didn't take him a lot of time. He got on the field, one pass. I think it wasn't shortly after he came on the field. He was in, he scored that goal, and he always gets into that box early on when he gets on the field. Now it's a matter of in the playoffs. That's a piece where when do you sub him on? Do you sub him on? If the game goes into extra time, is that your first sub after to start extra time or whatever? So that's a good option to have. Really, you got a guy like that coming off the bench.
Yeah, look, and I think another interesting thing too is, right. Say they have a tough game. I feel like the national games are going to be a very tough game. Obviously, we know they obviously beat LAFC 1-0. But let's put this hypothetical scenario, because it could be a game that's 1-1, or they could be down one or whatever. Do you keep Chicharito and do you bring on Jovic to keep both of them on? Because to me right now, I find it hard to believe, just to not have Chicharito there in the final minutes. I know he's been subbed off in these last couple of games, and he's been subbed off for Joveljic, but I find it hard to believe that Chicharito will not be in the full 90 minutes. And I think they may have to switch up the formation with both if you do need Joveljic. But I'm curious on your thoughts, because I just, even if they're losing or whatever, I just don't see Chicharito not being in the game for 90 minutes. Look, if it goes to extra time, okay, I see definitely a substitution. But to me, this Saturday, I definitely see 90 minutes for Chicharito, and say they need Joveljic. That's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, I think if they're losing, they'll bring them on and go to like maybe a 3-5-2 or whatever. But I think this game. Well, remember in the first game they played in Nashville, the Galaxy had all possession. They pressed and pressed and pressed, and they ended up with one goal. And then the second game they had most possession. They probably should have won that one as well. It ended in a draw. So now you're thinking you're Nashville. When you come in here, it's a one-off game. Are you going to sit back and wait for the counter? That's probably what they're going to do. So that's sort of the challenge that the matchup challenge they have really. Do the Galaxy come out and try to impact the game early, or do you let Nashville sort of get possession and have them play have them sit back on the counter? So I mean, if they come out and get 2 goals early, that sort of takes everything. That sort of opens the game up, and Nashville has to play the game really. But I sort of expect them to come back and sit back and look for the counter and try to get 1 goal from Hani Mukhtar or whatever, and then just really sit back for the last, whatever minutes they need. And if the Galaxy's losing, that's when you bring on Joveljic, you bring on Efra to sort of try to open things up a little bit there through the midfield and going forward.
Yeah, no, you bring up actually point. Hani Mukhtar, who's I'm assuming he's going to be, or I don't know if they already named him, but he's going to be the MVP. He's going to be the MVP, potentially he's had been MVP year. Let's put it this way. He's been exciting to watch this season. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because he's an exciting player. I mean, I got to really see him up close in the MLS All-Star week. I got to talk to him for a little bit. Players like him are so exciting to watch because of what they do. Even if they're up top, I think he ended up getting the assist off the corner for the win against LAFC this season. And it's going to be interesting to see that matchup in that midfield. Potentially him and Ricky Puig at times. Going at it there in the midfield, and what they do. And I think to me, you bring if they sit back. I think that helps. That if they want to sit back on the Galaxy, I think the Galaxy having so much. Like I said, those last couple games, the Galaxy having so much possession. It's been exciting to watch, and it's been good to see. Now is the counterattacks too. I think that's sometimes where I think sometimes the Galaxy can be a little vulnerable in those counterattacks and how they hold up, because I think recently they've held up a lot better, especially with Martin Caceres down there, Koulibaly, Derek Williams, so that's gonna be interesting to see, because we could already assume who's gonna be. I think these last 2 games you can kind of see what the lineup is. Greg Randy has switched over to the 4-3-3 formation, and it obviously has worked out well for them. Let's talk about Martin Caceres and what you liked about him so far in his short time with the Galaxy.
Yeah, he's just cool under pressure. He started the last 2 or 3 games. Yeah, he's calm, cool. Like when he first got here, Greg said this is a guy he's always calm. He doesn't really get rattled back there, and we've seen that so far. He sort of supplanted Williams out of that center back spot a little bit. But yeah, he's been cool, calm, and I think with him, Koulibaly, they're working well together. Then you got Julian and Raheem on the outsides. The only concern is I don't know. We haven't heard about Mark Delgado. He was subbed off late. Not sure what his status is. We'll find out later this week. But if they can go in with the same lineup that they've had the last 4 or 5 games, that consistency is really helping this group sort of get settled in here. Just as they go into this playoff game here Saturday.
Yeah, and that I mean, what Caceres has done there, I like how he's earned a spot, right? You just mentioned obviously, he's essentially been out Derek Williams for that spot, but there seems to be a lot more of like more of a secure center back position role there, more of a what I'm gonna try to say, it's more stable back there. Let's put it that way. It just seems more stable back there, and what he's brought with the Galaxy, and also he's also relieved a lot of that pressure, and to be able to play off the back there. And Sega Koulibaly, I think he also had a big save. I think this game yesterday, I think he had one big save, and Jonathan Bond, he had also a couple big saves. In these last few games. Let's talk about him, because we've known how his skill set. Jonathan Bond could essentially be the difference maker this upcoming game, because if he has another amazing save that could potentially save a goal or save them to potentially making the next round.
Yeah, I mean, like in the playoffs, all you need is one goal and a hot goalkeeper. And Bond made 2 big saves there back to back in the stretch there. I think in the second half. But man, you talk about a hot goalkeeper. Joe Willis the other day.
Yeah.
What did he finish with? Like 12 saves, I think, something ridiculous like that. So yeah, it's going to be a battle there. Whoever blinks first really is going to be tough to see how can the Galaxy make. Well, even Nashville, make the goalkeeper move their feet and, challenge them a little bit there. We'll see how it goes down. But, man, 12 saves is – I think it was 12.
I know they had 29 – LAFC had 29 shots.
Oh, wow.
Just 29 – they weren't all on goal, but there were just 29 shots. And, yeah, he had some impressive saves. So, he's obviously a solid goalkeeper. And obviously probably things also went his way, when you have that many shots and that many saves, some did hit off the crossbar. He also saved a PK as well. So, I mean, that team is coming in hot as well. So it's gonna be an exciting matchup. The only thing to me that I don't like, and this has nothing to do with either team, is just the time, 12 p.m.
Yeah.
It's like, why not do it? Like, I get it because I'm assuming is because of the media rights or the TV rights, and maybe because of college football or whatever. Do we know what platform or what broadcast is going to be?
I think it's on Unimás or
Unimás. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And they had the right for the 2 games on Saturday, I believe. So 12:00 game. I know the last time the Galaxy had a day playoff game, I think, was right after the break against Portland, I believe, and it was pretty hot that day, I believe. And Greg talked about how it sort of took away their energy a little bit. Not sure. I don't think it'll be that hot this weekend, but 12 o'clock game sort of takes you out of your regular game day rhythm. So we'll see how this one goes. But man, yeah, 12 o'clock. That's a tough start time for everybody.
Yeah, I don't like it, and I wish it would have been like make it Friday or whatever. I don't know what goes behind those contracts or those deals or whatever, but
yeah, well, the league had 3 days. They had Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the first round. You probably could have. I mean, early on they were saying that the 4-5 was going Saturday no matter what, but the league never really said that until they finalized it yesterday. So maybe that the 3-6 I think goes on maybe Monday, I believe, or I don't even know. But then if you go Monday, you got to turn around and play on Thursday. So yeah. So I'm not sure how that would have worked out. But so you're on Saturday, you win, you get Thursday. I mean, you got to play a midweek anyway to get through. So we'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, yeah, let's finish off with that. Look, like we started off, first playoff home game since 2016. It's been 6 years since the Galaxy have had a home playoff game.
Bruce Arena was a coach. So that's how long it's been, and that's how long it's been for the Galaxy. So look, kudos to them. Kudos to what they've been doing all year. It has to be very exciting. Obviously, I'll definitely be there. Damien, I'll definitely be there because it's going to be exciting one, and I'm definitely going to look forward to these fireworks. Anything else you'd like to add before we let you go? Let's go. It's like Dayon said yesterday, it's playoff time.
I like that. Look, well, Damien, I appreciate you for being on. Appreciate you for hopping on. I'll see you this side, my brother. So yeah, guys, definitely check out Damien. Give us a minute and we'll be right back. All right, guys, and we are back talking LAFC. LAFC celebrated the Supporters Shield, the second Supporters Shield this in the short history, 4 years. It's exciting to see them, celebrate at home. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get the win. But look, they're still the best team in all of MLS. They like I said, they were able to celebrate yesterday. A lot of momentum for them as well. A lot of expectations for this team because they got Gareth Bale, they got Carlos Vela, Chicho Arango. You look down the list, that's a superstar squad. So there's so many things going on. But here to help me talk about all things LAC, we got Jose once again. Jose, how you doing?
Thank you, and always a pleasure to be here and on this show and speak about LAFC. Yes, on one side you have LAFC winning Supporter Shield, on the other, not the result that the team wanted. It would be more worrying if the performance of the team wasn't good, but it was. There were a lot of shots for Joe Willis. He stopped everything. In that regard, maybe sharpness is something where LAFC needs to work, but it was a good performance in general. And I'm, as always, really glad and it's an honor to be here to speak about that and other things.
Yeah, look, Joe Willis had a hell of a game. Let's just put it that way. It just sometimes it goes that way. LAC had 29 shots, which is insane. They did have a PK. Chicho ended up missing the PK. I think he just hit it just down the middle. Joe Willis was there. Look, it was Joe Willis's day. It was Nashville's day. That's just the way sometimes soccer is. Just the way sometimes things go and they happen. But you expect this team to change that. Come playoff time and what's at stake because now we know that they're going to play. They got a first round bye because because of how they finished the top of the league, and they're going to face the winner of either Nashville or LA Galaxy, and that has to be very exciting. And to me, that is a very juicy matchup. We potentially have another Africa, which will mean a lot more this time around if that happens. But I obviously one game at a time. LAFC, sit in a good spot. They're just going to be waiting for whichever opponent they're going to be playing at home. Let's talk about that. How does it mean to have this playoff, the playoffs at home? Because if they win, they're going to be in the Bank of California and talk about how crucial that is for LAFC.
It is really crucial. It's first of all in the physical aspect. I spoke about that with Elias Sanchez the other day on press conference. He mentioned that the fact that they are not traveling anymore helps a lot physically and mentally. Traveling can be tiring for any team, so LAFC doesn't have to travel anymore. Second of all, the support of the crowd that never stops chanting. It's always anyone who has been on the bank. I'm sure who is listening to this right now. It's always impressive how the 3-2-5-2 is always chanting throughout the 90 minutes, regardless of the result. So that's the two advantages that LAFC will have in being at home. They have only lost twice against Austin and yesterday against Nashville. A game that soccer is not fair always. LAFC should deserve at least a tie. It didn't happen, but at home LAFC is always a dominant team in ball possession, in shots, and in victories. They have, I believe, 13 victories. I don't have the exact number, but Bank of California is a stadium to be considered when playing in it as an away team.
Yeah, look, yeah, you mentioned it. This was only their second loss at the Bank California Stadium, and I would also add that look, Nashville just was more hungry. Look, let's just put it that way. They had to get the win. Because they didn't want to drop any further down that they were, and this is a team that they may face again. They could potentially face again. But yeah, sometimes just the way football is, just the way soccer is. Sometimes, sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But let's look at this because of obviously, obstacle one was to get a trophy, was to get supporter shield. They checked that off the box, right? They did that. We see them right there celebrating in the locker room. A lot of excitement. They had the celebration after the game and everything, and I think, so far they've done everything that they're expected to do. So now it comes playoff time. Now it comes this. To me, is great for them to celebrate with the fans and everything like that. But I know the team's not satisfied. I know everybody in that front office is not satisfied, and I know obviously the players are not satisfied because they still want the cup. Obviously, that and the MLS is the biggest trophy. And I think it's good to see them in a good mood and to celebrate that. Let's talk about this playoff format because, like I said, they're in a position they get to relax a little bit more. You mentioned they don't have to travel. but they got two big opponents, one that just beat them and one that's obviously the arch enemy of the LA Galaxy. Does it matter? Does it matter for LAFC who they play at this point? Because they just have so much talent, whether it's Galaxy or Nashville. Talk to me about that.
And let's not forget, LAFC didn't have a lot of defeats this season, but one of the defeats that they had was against LA Galaxy on the U.S.
Mhm.
Open Cup. So that's still there, you know. Um, I personally, if Nashville is gonna play like they played on yesterday, I hope it's not Nashville. I hope it's LA Galaxy for the sake of the rivalry. You know, this rivalry was big since day one, since 2018, back when Zlatan scored 3 goals and that amazing goal, and since today. And right now, we're gonna have a play at Rose Bowl on 2000 next year. You know, so this rivalry is taking over MLS. One rivalry that claims to be the biggest one. There are two teams, Portland and Seattle, are not in the playoffs. So this is a good chance to establish that spot, you know. Nashville is a good team, but I personally hope that if they're going to play like they did on Sunday, they don't come true. But, you know, they have Danny Mokhtar, they have Walker Zimmerman, who was really celebrated when he returned to the bank. So let's see who it is. It's gonna be interesting. I'm a little bit worried about the time between yesterday and the next playoff game. I don't know if that's gonna be a factor. You know, it's gonna be on the 20th, 11 games without playing. It can be extra rest or it can be a physical aspect that can play against LAFC. So, but only time and results will tell what this is. You know.
Yeah, look, either the rest could help them or could potentially hurt them. I think anytime you get rest, these guys are professionals. I think to me, it will help them. The only thing, I'm curious. I would say about LAFC is, um, the only thing is going into this playoffs. I just feel that they don't have um they're not as smooth. They don't have that momentum that they did one in the beginning of the year. That's my only concern about this team. Look, I know Carlos Vela can carry this team. I know Dennis Bongo, he's been amazing to watch. And Chicharango. This team has all the talent. That's just my only thing that I'm kind of concerned, because to me, playoffs is all about momentum, and it's a one-off. It's just one game. So if something goes bad the first game, this game you're not able to bounce back. And I think the way the playoffs are set up, if you have a good night, yeah, you're gonna keep rolling through. Or if you have a night like they did yesterday, then things could get very, very complicated, and you only get one shot at it. Whether it's LAFC, whether it's LA Galaxy or Nashville, like I said, those are two tough teams. You're talking about Henny Mukhtar, who potentially may be the MVP. And that matchup is gonna be exciting. Galaxy versus Nashville is gonna be exciting because those are two very good teams. They got a lot of talent there. Yeah, so that's my only thing that I'm curious about. But I feel like they just have so many veterans, and I think the rest is going to help them, and especially them having the home playoff advantage throughout the playoffs. I don't know how they don't make it to the MLS Cup. To me, it's just the only thing concerned is just that momentum. Are you concerned that they don't have that momentum going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm concerned with the sharpness of the team. I mean, a lot of chances. You know, Joe Willis have a Tim Howard versus Belgium performance. I mean, Joe Willis have like a Memo Ochoa against Brazil performance. It was that kind of a day, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
a goal can make a difference. I know if doesn't exist, but what if if Chicho Arango scores that goal? Maybe the result
Mm-hmm.
will be a little bit different, and we wouldn't be speaking about that. But yeah, sharpness, it is a concern. Chicho Arango have a lot of chances, but not the best. He was not very efficient in front of the field. Christian Tello came and have a couple of chances too. You know, like the most important thing in soccer is it's scoring. You know, we can speak about a lot about tactics, how the team blessing came and have a good chance and play a good game, stole a lot of balls, but in the most important aspect, LAFC didn't leave its best moment on yesterday. Or against Portland. It was a couple of individualities. Carlos Vela and then Denny Buanga on the end, but yeah, it can on playoffs. It can be a good night or a bad night. It can be an individuality from your players, and LAFC has a lot of those, But there needs to be a little bit more. I feel there needs to be a little bit more creativity when attacking. Sometimes it can be very predictable, and goals aren't coming. But let's see if this long period of time helps them to create more ways of attacking.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And look, let's quickly just go down the Western Conference bracket. Obviously, LAFC is number one. They'll face the winner, like I said, of LA Galaxy, who's number fourth seed, or Nashville FC, who's in the fifth seed. Then the number three, FC Dallas, faces number six, Minnesota United. And Austin FC, number two, Austin FC, will face RSL. And then obviously in the other bracket, in the Eastern Conference, obviously the number one seed there is Philadelphia Union. They'll play the winner of Red Bull, who's in the fourth seed, or FC Cincinnati, who's also pretty hot right now. And then NYC FC will face off Inter Miami, which I think that is another exciting first round matchup. I mean, they're all exciting. Let's put it that way. They're all exciting. But there's some a little more than others that are like I'm really, really looking forward to watch. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't seen too much. I haven't seen any of Montreal this season, but they're in the number two seed, which I'm shocked. I haven't watched anything, and that they could be definitely a sleeper that nobody's watching. And then Orlando City makes it in. Obviously, we know that they won the U.S. Open Cup. So I mean, I think any number one through four seed, potentially fifth seed could definitely win the MLS Cup. But if we're talking who's obviously overall favorite, is the number one team LAFC, because of everything they've done this offseason, and them getting the number one overall seed and all those different things. But yeah, what would you like to, obviously we mentioned that the team has not been sharp or anything like that, but going into these playoffs, or obviously what are some things that you would like to see more of, whether if it's the player? I know you kind of mentioned a little bit about the creativity, or as a team as a whole, what would you like to see more of come this playoff game next Thursday for them?
Creativity. The substitutes haven't responded like they used to do at the beginning of the season. But yes, a lot of creativity on the attack. I was curious yesterday. Gareth Bale didn't come in, so that was interesting to see. Gareth Bale not coming in a critical aspect of the game, critical in the matter of the result, not the objective, which was a supporter shield, which is something that they already have. So I would like to see those two things. Um, uh, I'm concerned that when Chicho Arango comes out, there is not a natural number 9, but Denny Wanga responded pretty well in that role. The player who stays there as a substitute from Chicho Arango, Denny Wanga, that on this case has a lot of freedom to move around wherever he wishes to, and create opportunities. But yeah, that and mostly sharpness, because like in soccer and any other sports, the most important aspect is scoring. Defensively, they have been better. Nashville only created three chances. One saved by Chiqui Palacios. That was amazing, because I am curious to know if defenses and goalkeepers are concentrated when the opponent doesn't attack a lot. Maxim is in a great moment, and I would like to see more creativity, because it was mentioned yesterday, when teams play against LAFC, most of them play behind. They put their two boxes and stay behind and try to counter attack. So I would like to see more sharpness, so that counter attack strategy can change that way the opponent plays. Because once you are 1-0, 2-0 the advantage, eventually your opponent has to change their strategy.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think when you're playing LAFC, I think you do have to play them on the counterattack, because if you play them head to head, I don't think many teams are going to be able to have that speed and everything they do, right? Because this team just has so much, and you do have to sit a little bit back because of just how explosive they are. Let's talk about a couple players that you've liked. To me, I've really liked, obviously, Mahala. I think you bring up a great point on the Gareth Bale. Um, let's talk about that, because he obviously didn't play. He's going to be a super sub, and I think it's been disappointing from so far from Gareth Bale. I think I've already talked about this, but for him not even to get into the last game, playing that last game, and you're talking about goals, we all felt like he was going to be a difference maker, and he's being a super sub for LAFC going into the World Cup. I just think that I just find that kind of kind of odd and just kind of strange. You know what I'm saying? Like, is this how he's gonna get? I didn't watch any of his qualifying games or Wells this last international break, so I don't know how he did. But watching with LAFC is like, it's like how good. I know he's a superstar, but if he's not able to kill it with LAFC, we know he likes to turn up for the Wells team, but are you concerned that he could potentially not be a factor in this potentially in the playoffs, because he really hasn't made a difference necessarily, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, I have seen a little bit of him with Wells, but man, there is too much soccer to watch. It is hard to keep up with everything. There's a
Yeah.
lot of soccer going on around the world and in every hour. But with the Wells national team, he is the man. There are other good players, but he is the main star, and the whole country, speaking soccer wise, depends on him. And on LAFC, it's not the case. You have other, well, not exaggerating, another 11 players right now that are above him level wise. And I'm sure that with Steve Cherundolo coming from Germany, starting 11 spots are earned on training. I haven't been on training, but I'm sure maybe Mahala is winning that race against Gareth Bale, and that's good for internal competition. So yeah, Mahala has been responding pretty well, and he's a guy who likes to score coming as a sub. He did it a lot throughout this season. LAFC fans remember a lot that goal against Cruz Azul on the CONCACAF Champions League. So yeah, Mahala is having the advantage on that race, and let's see what happens with Gareth Bale. He might be the super sub, but this is Gareth Bale's career, with Real Madrid at least, coming occasionally but scoring on finals. Great goals
Yeah.
with Real Madrid, the Copa del Rey against Barcelona, taking the ball from half the pitch and going all the way. Not consistency from him. That's what I expect. Not a lot of consistency, but maybe a magic moment on a playoff game.
Yeah, and Gareth Bale is very capable of having that magic moment for this club, and I think you're right. You mentioned something pretty big right there, because that's something that we just haven't seen, that magic moment for Gareth Bale with LAFC, and I think um, I think that's what everybody's missing. That's what everybody wants from him, and then if he's not able to show that, he hasn't showed us any of that. We know how talented he is, but he does have that history of having those magical moments throughout his career. And I think, to me, as we see a picture of him, in the LAFC year, I think everybody's really waiting for that magic moment. And if it is come playoff time, hey, if it is come playoff time and he's the difference maker, whether it's against LA Galaxy, whether against Nashville, and he does that, then I think he will give a lot more optimism for him coming back next year, because I assume he's coming back next year, even though it has not been a positive season. But I think the playoffs could essentially change that for Gareth Bale. Like you said, he has a magical goal, magical moment, magical assists. I think all that could change for him in this playoff run.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see how he responds. There needs to be a better chemistry with Christian. For me right now, the front three, and that's good for LAFC coming to the playoffs. It looks like the starting 11 is already defined. Maxim in goal, Murillo and Chiellini on defense. The wings with Ryan Hollins winning the Carrero Veresco Palacios. The midfield led by Ilya Sanchez, and then Cifuentes and Kellen Acosta. And the front three for me definitely are Denis Buanga, Carlos Vela, and Chicho Arango. So that's a positive point that LAFC has at this point of the season, and if these players respond with sharpness, it will be hard for Gareth Bale and any other player to come and take a spot. But maybe they can do it as a super sub like it has been throughout the season.
Yeah. Look, and talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously, the defense there with with Chiellini. What would you like? What have you liked from obviously with the defense this year so far? And obviously, they weren't able to get the result yesterday. But what have you liked from this defense? Obviously, and that pairing of Eddie Segura and Chiellini back there.
It was good. Only two chances. when Nashville had their first attack with Danny Mokhtar, the one that Maxime Crepeau stopped, he was really, really by himself. Like he was empty. Like no, he came like to the area and no one was marking him. But the opponent will attack always. If even if they step like to the back like they did yesterday, they're gonna have their chances. That's inevitable. That's how soccer works. I like the pairing with Eddie. I like the pairing with Jesus Murillo. Murillo has a tendency to get yellow cards, which is why he didn't play yesterday. But it's a little bit less with Giorgio Chiellini. I think it's like with Giorgio, defense has improved a lot. Not only him giving orders, he's the first one to apply those orders. When when LAFC steals the ball, it's either with Chiellini doing that and Ilya Sanchez leading the attack. So that has been impressive to see throughout this season with Giorgio and whoever plays next to him.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And Chiellini does a great job, not just playing out the back, but assisting from out the back. We've seen him, have you start the offensive play from off the back too as well. Obviously, Ryan Hollins said he's had an amazing season. The biggest surprise has been able to score a lot of goals this season that no one expected. Chiqui Palacios, obviously, he's pretty good. That's his spot right there. Yeah, Ilya Sanchez. I'm with you, Ilya Sanchez, Jose Cifuentes, and Kellen Costa is definitely going to be the starters. I just feel like LAFC's front three, like no one else can compete with that front three. I think where the difference is potentially depending on the team, it could be in the defense or in the midfield. But overall, like the starting 11 is built to go deep in the playoffs, and like I said, definitely go down there, especially in the championship game. But look, it's one game at a time. Right, you're gonna have to wait for the winner of of LA Galaxy versus Nashville. Two very big opponents. Two things that we want to see which one's going to come out on top. If it is the Galaxy, like you just talking about, the team, they're going to open up the season next season at the Rose Bowl. So yeah, look,
That'd be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be exciting at time. But yeah, there's so much excitement. I'm glad now that the playoff, man, the MLS season is so long, Jose. I don't know if you've noticed, but
it is. Soccer never stops. No, it's endless.
Stops. It never stops. I have a couple friends that cover the NBA, and one of my friends he had posted on his Instagram. He's like, "Man, been back for 6 months," and I was like, "Dan, you guys get a 6-month break?" And I was like, looking at it, I was like, "Look, we're off. Let's say the playoffs.
We barely have a weekend."
Yeah. I was like, the playoffs are October, right? Let's say October. Let's assume LAFC go to the championship game, which is November 5th. We'll count November, December, January, and then February. I'm assuming January, February, like preseason starts. So realistically, we're probably gonna have like 3 months off from the season. Look, we're not the one planes. I know I'm complaining here. We're not the one planes, but we are the ones covering the team, and I'm just like, it just that post just got me thinking. I was like, dang, they get 6 months off. We only get like a couple months, and then international break. The World Cup is coming. And you mentioned soccer is all year round.
Soccer is always around.
Look, and
then you have the Leagues Cup and this tournament and this other tournament. And now that preseason are gonna become tournaments too. That they're starting to do that, because if you think about it, the Leagues Cup for Liga MX teams is gonna be like a preseason, but not with competition. Because it's gonna be in July and August, and Liga MX starts in August, so it's gonna be like a preseason for them.
Yeah, let's quickly talk about that. Obviously, Leagues Cup, because that to me is the biggest thing next year. Because now we know, like, obviously, here's a little video. What do you think of the announcement? What do you think of like when they're gonna do it? I forget the date. It was like August, July something, July 21st, I believe is gonna start. What do you think? There's 15 groups as we see there. 77 total matches, no ties, which is good. So if a game is going to go straight to PKs, and I think if you win the PK, you get an additional point. So it's
and Liga MX champion and MLS champion go straight to the 32 finals, something like that. They don't go to the group stage. But yeah,
Yeah, no.
like League's Cup, it's something else. It's gonna be good for soccer fans. Like soccer fans never get to rest. And I asked Steve Seirondula about that the other day on the press conference. Like on one side, you're gonna have the chance to compete with Liga MX teams, because MLS and Liga MX, the debate, both leagues are there. They're really competitive. But on the other hand, you're gonna have more and more games in a calendar that is already pretty busy. And the answer was that for Steve Cherundolo, he said that the solution to having that many games is to make bigger rosters. It doesn't look that it's gonna happen. So let's see how players are physically for that. If LAFC and the rest of the MLS teams is gonna utilize that tournament to put players that don't play often. Let's see if Liga MX, like I said, is gonna be like a preseason for them. Let's see if they're gonna bring their stars. I mean, do they have to? Because is that part of the commercial deal that Liga MX
I would assume
has?
so. I mean,
Yeah,
if there's a CCL berth, CCL, it's the biggest tournament for one. I would assume all the stars. It's gonna be a month long
yeah.
tournament.
Yeah, you have to bring the Alexis Vegas, the Guignacs, or these other players. So it's gonna be interesting how both leagues respond to this game. It's positive for the leagues, for both leagues. They benefit from each other, but it can be in long term. It can affect the players physically having so many games in social short period of time.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, I'm curious. I thought there was also like I think I saw that on Twitter. There's like rumors that potentially there being more 4DPs for the MLS this the coming season. We'll have to see. I've been seeing that all around social media. Obviously, nothing has been confirmed yet, but you would have to your point, you would have to assume they would get bigger rosters with that many games in a short amount of time. And obviously, right? Your players, like we were just talking about, playing all year round. Not everybody's going to be physically fit, especially those players that are going to the World Cup, right?
Mhm.
I know a few Ken Acosta, Gareth Bell, was it Chiqui Palacios? Is going. Who else? Jose Cifuentes is Jose Cifuentes going.
Jose
Um,
Fuentes, Sebas Mendes, Kevin Acosta, and Maxime Crepeau as a sub for Canada.
I mean, so yeah. That's. I mean, they're gonna go. They're gonna go to the. They're not really gonna get. They're gonna get a couple weeks break, or maybe if that. Right, and then get
Mhm.
back into it. So yeah, it's a very very long year. This next year, it's a very long soccer season for them, and then you start right after the gate. Right after the gate, in February. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But let's finish off with this. How excited are you to see LAFC, depending whoever they face? How excited to see finally again in the playoffs? And this way, in a much better way, obviously the number one overall seed.
It's good to be back because right now when you were answering that question, it came to my mind last season against Colorado Rapids. The last game of the season, it was, I believe, 5-2. Colorado won and LAFC didn't go to the playoffs. So
Yeah,
it's good to return to the playoff spot after a year of many changes, after a year of many players coming throughout the summer. After a year of a lot of things on LAFC planet. So it is good to be back on the playoffs. And when it comes to result, it has been said a lot. It is MLS Cup or bust. They
yep,
have the talent to win both as a team and both with individuality. So they are the number one favorites, and it will be. Nashville is a good opponent. It's a good team. Don't get me wrong of what I said earlier. It was just exclusively from yesterday's game. I am sure that if they play against LAFC, the approach will be different. But it will be nice to have LA Galaxy on the playoffs because big rivalries are developed either like city proximity, like in this case between Carson
mhm,
and downtown Los Angeles, and on playoffs. How did the
yeah,
Celtics and the Lakers became such rivals? In the 1980s, they play a lot on the playoffs with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. So
yeah.
playoff
Hey,
moments
I'm
gives you
with
big
you.
rivalries. You
Yeah, I'm
know,
with you. I'm with you on that. Well, look, Josue, I appreciate you being on. Guys, definitely give Josue a follow. This time next week, we're definitely going to find out who LAFC will play in the playoffs. It's going to be an exciting time, whether it's the Galaxy or Nashville. So that's going to wrap things up for Josue. This is Gio.